Good evening, everyone. Today we have a work session meeting of the City Council of the City of Cape May, New Jersey. We are here in the Cape May City Hall Auditorium. It is Tuesday, October 3rd, 2023. The time is 5 p.m. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. You can tell the lifeguards are here.
Yeah. Clean this up.
Under the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting was sent to the Cape May County Herald and the Press of Atlantic City, and a copy of the agenda was delivered to each member of council, posted on the city website and the Cape May City Hall bulletin board. Notice is hereby provided that Cape May City Council meetings are audio recorded and video streamed live. Live video streams are posted to the Cape May City website. The City of Cape May is not responsible if audio recording or live video streaming of a meeting is unavailable. Roll call. Deputy Mayor Baldwin.
Here?
Councilmember McDade.
Here.
Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Mayor Mullock.
Here.
Councilmember Yeager.
Here.
City Solicitor Gillen-Schwartz.
Here.
City Manager Vaughn.
Here.
And City Engineer Dietrich.
Here.
All right, Council, we are beginning with the Employee of the Month recognition.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, Council. Tonight we have two people we're going to honor. First, I have to start with the Employee of the Month. We started a program this past year because all our employees are so dedicated and do an outstanding job for our community to keep it safe, to keep it clean, and provide all the people wants when they come here on vacation. So tonight, the Employee of the Month cannot make it because his wife just had a baby boy, and he's at the hospital with him. So I will recognize, his name is Will Piacinti. He's the employee down at Convention Hall in charge of Civic Affairs and Recreation. Will's been with the city since December of 21, nominated by his peers because he's always super hard worker who goes above and beyond the job requirements. He is dedicated to making sure that all the events at City Hall, Convention Hall, go off without a hitch and run smoothly. He always has a positive attitude and one of the most reliable employees the city has. He's always willing to take on any task given to him. He has been one of the most instrumental employees in making the Department of Civic Affairs and Recreation more organized and efficient the past couple of years. He is not able to attend tonight's meeting, as I said, because he's currently in the hospital with his wife, Katie, welcoming their new baby boy. So he will be recognized at our next council meeting and be given a certificate, a $100 gift certificate, and a recognition next month. So our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family.
That's great.
Now I'm going to ask the mayor to please join me. We have another presentation that we're so pleased to do tonight. It's been a little time coming, but we're going to do it tonight. As I said, we do the Employee of the Month. This one got kind of put behind because it was the latter part of last year. So at this time, I'm going to ask the mayor and the council to join me in honoring Cameron Blevins. Cameron? He's being recognized tonight. He's a Beach Patrol lifeguard who we have the beautiful little girl that he saved. She was, 3 years old at the time? 2. And we're so pleased that he's here tonight. You should be recognized. We're so proud of all our Beach Patrol because what you do and all the training that Harry and Marty put you through with the proven today by saving this little girl's life. So on behalf of the city, the mayor and I would like to recognize you.
Great job.
And I'd like to ask Marty Franco to say a few words. Marty?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
Don't go away.
Don't go away. You got the picture, too.
He's done.
The initiation of this started with a bunch of our camp's fellow lifeguards coming to me and saying we should do something special because of the special work that he did that day. So the council members so graciously and Mr. Gold so graciously accepted this letter on behalf of that. And basically it just says, dear members of council, every first responder moves to a different level when a first aid call comes in. The adrenaline really starts pumping And the intensity goes up a notch when it's a pediatric call. And such was the case last Labor Day weekend when Queen Street Beach reported a choking baby. Senior guard Cam Blevins responded immediately, as is related in the letter you're going to hear soon from Ms. Peoples. The call, of course, the intensity brought, captains, 6 lieutenants, everybody, it was all hands on deck. The severity of the event required response of the Cape May Fire Department, who also was instrumental in continuing the care that day. It was very emotional, and it was very joyous when we all found out that Cassidy was going to be okay. But the emotions really went even higher when we found and we realized that the parents were both former Cape May Beach Patrol lifeguards. That's a rare case that we get to save the families of family. Today, and I continue just on a letter briefly. I'm ready to ask that you recognize Cam Blevins in some way by acting promptly and appropriately. He saved this baby's life. As a 7-year guard, Cam continues to protect our beaches in exemplary fashion with many water saves this past year, exceptional care during first aid calls, and he's respected by all of us, and we're all blessed to have him on the beach patrol and working for the city of Cape May.
I just want to say thank you to my coworkers. I see them work hard every day, and I know they're there to back me up. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, hang in there for a minute, everyone, please. We have another letter we want to talk about, and we have a surprise that came from Lancaster, Pennsylvania tonight to be here. They'll be down in a minute.
Okay, well, while we're waiting for our special guest, I'd like to introduce Matt and Ashley Peoples, and you've seen him up here, and also Cassidy. And Matt has a few words to say. Yeah. Hang on, just 1 second. I'd like to introduce to you Cam's parents.
I saw Cam's parents ducking down behind here so Cameron wouldn't see them up on the second floor. I wasn't sure what was going on, but very, very, very cool. And just I should say real quick, Cameron, I've enjoyed your music all summer. You've brought joy to the whole town, so it's really, really cool. And I do want to say, Marty, Harry, everybody, you guys did such a wonderful job this entire season. So thank you very much to the Beach Patrol too.
I'll be brief. Hopefully I can follow up all those pleasant words. Again, thank you, Cameron. Thank you guys for everything you do at the Beach Patrol. Thank you, Mayor, council members, Captain Franco, and Cape May Beach Patrol for setting aside this time to honor Cape May Beach Patrol lifeguard, Mr. Cameron Blevins. Again, for your extraordinary life-saving actions while on duty at Madison and Queen Street beaches. Mr. Blevins played a pivotal role in rescuing our 3-year-old daughter, Cassidy, during a herring incident on Labor Day weekend of last year. Our daughter Cassidy was born with a rare birth defect called esophageal atresia tracheal fistula. Say that 10 times fast. While this defect has corrected day one of her life, it has caused a permanent narrowing of her esophagus. This narrowing condition requires the utmost care and vigilance during meal times to prevent food from getting lodged in her esophagus. On that particular day, she was enjoying watermelon when a piece became stuck in her esophagus. My wife reacted quickly, attempting to dislodge the watermelon with back blows, which had worked before. However, in a heart-stopping twist of events, she managed to dislodge the watermelon, but it inadvertently was inhaled back into her trachea. Cassie's airway was blocked. She was unable to breathe and make any sound. Panic engulfed us as her skin began to lose color due to lack of oxygen. In the face of this unimaginable nightmare, Mr. Blevins sprung into action with incredible speed and composure. He quickly took Cassidy from my arms and flipped her over, performing the Heimlich maneuver and other life-saving measures in a well-coordinated manner. Mr. Blevins' professionalism and expertise were evident as he calmly worked to dislodge the watermelon, and his swift decision to seek assistance from lieutenants and further EMS personnel. These proved to be crucial in the success of the rescue. Cassidy lost consciousness, and we did fear for the worst. But thanks to Mr. Blevins' quick thinking, a glimmer of hope emerged when Cassidy let out a scream, indicating that her airway was clear, and she was breathing once again. It is difficult to find the right words, to not have your voice crack, to express the depth of our gratitude to Mr. Blevins and the entire team of the Cape May Beach Patrol. As a father, the sheer terror of that moment will never fade from my memory. It was only due to Mr. Blevins' exceptional training, dedication, and courage that our daughter's life was spared. He truly exemplifies the qualities of an outstanding lifeguard, and I can confidently say that Cassie owes her life for those extraordinary measures. I want to commend the Cape May Beach Patrol for having such skilled and compassionate individuals like Mr. Blevins on your team. It is through their unwavering commitment to public safety that families like ours can enjoy the beach without undue worry. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts as we've joyfully witnessed our daughter grow into a spunky and fun-loving, carefree child who adores the ocean and beach. We are reminded of the immense impact the CMBP's swift response had on our lives. We hope our appreciation and recognition of your actions tonight highlight the importance and value of having professional and well-trained individuals such as yourself guarding our community's beaches. There is no price tag for the service of life-saving. There is no price tag for the service of life-saving. Wherever your path takes you in life, Mr. Blevins, please know you have made a profound difference in our lives and right here in Cape May. So again, thank you so much for everything.
And thank you for everyone that's here tonight for such a joyful celebration. May God bless your little daughter. And everyone that doesn't want to stay for this boring meeting can leave now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I know. Low-key cute. I know.
Hey, Todd. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. On to our updates. City Manager, any updates this evening?
Yes, if I may, Mayor, I'll be brief. I just want to update on a couple of the parks and road work going on, and city engineer will elaborate on a few. Kiwanis Park, which this council worked on over the last year. I know, Lorraine, you kind of led that up, and that's ongoing right now. Going to have restrooms at that park. Harborview Park, I know, Maureen, that you've been kind of heading that up, and that's, I know you've been working with the architects to design that before you make it public, and that should be a beautiful park also. Lafayette Street Park, that this council's been working on endlessly for the last 3 years that I've been here. We're just about at the end, I would say, by the end of December. I think we should have all the documents in place to move forward, and then we can build and design a park and build a police station next year. And parking, yes. Thank you. The Lafayette Road construction has started. They'll be working Monday through Thursday every day on that job from starting at 7 a.m. Beach Drive construction has started. We were down there today. They're doing a lot of the underground utilities right now, and then it'll be a complete paving over the next several months. Washington Street will be repaved soon over the next several months, and Trenton and Congress Streets also. The firehouse, today, we got a kick. We finally got a ride on an elevator. The elevator is in and running now, and these guys were all excited. The fire chief say, wow, we finally have this elevator up and running. I would say because we've had some supply chain change issues to get us to this part, but I think we're at the edge now, and I think in November we should be done, ready to open and do the checklist. So we're getting there, and going to be very proud. The people of this community, and especially our firefighters, deserve a nice housing, and I know the council wants to put on a housing operation when the ceremony, so they're working on that. It's something you're going to be really proud of. And you know, we had visitors from another county without mentioning them, and they wanted to see how nice our firehouse was being built. We're staying within budget, and I'm not going to talk about numbers tonight, but this other community said we're building a firehouse about the same size as this. They're saying it's going to be like $16 million. So I'll just leave that thought with you. Beach Tag, I met with them today to finish up our Beach Tag sales. I left some brochures in front of you to review, take home tonight, and look over the numbers. We met this morning with Glenn Golden from DEP about beach replenishment, which we do every 2 years, and you can touch on that if you'd like also. So if you don't mind, Mayor, I'm going to defer now to City Engineer to update us on a few of the projects.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to follow up on the Beachville. So, you know, it's only a small portion of our beach this year that will be getting sand. It's right on Wilmington Beach. There'll be a small portion of that area, about 1.5 blocks in that area. Most of the project that's getting the sand is really up on the Coast Guard. Though the good thing is a lot of that sand will migrate over to our beaches. So come springtime, we should start seeing some additional sand pop up on our beach after that time frame. I did have an opportunity last week to meet with some residents from Elmira, Bank, and Venice to discuss the ongoing flooding issues that they reoccurringly have. Updated them on some of the short-term solutions that we've been working on with Public Works about putting in the new stormwater pumps and getting some gate valves to help some short-term problems. I anticipate putting together a project to hopefully incorporate into the budget for next year to start a long-term project to start the permitting and that type of project. So more will be forthcoming on that when we start the budget process for next year. Would like to follow up on SDL and the rollout of that. we've been working, Maureen and Casey, helped us kind of focal point and kind of bring that to the forefront on the website. So if you go to the I Want To section, so there's a link on there to get to the portal. A reminder, in order to utilize the portal, you have to register. So we kind of have to have your information. The registration is important so that way you can view more information on your property specific. But once you register and whether you search for an address or use the map viewer, you will be able to see various status of permits that people have applied for, as well as inspections. It's also very useful if you're looking to purchase a new home within the city. You can kind of see what's been done on the property from a historical standpoint, or if there's any outstanding permits.
Paul, just to mention that we've also are looking at making sure that it doesn't, that people are aware that it will not include everything. So some minor permitting requests such as a fence or a sidewalk or things of that nature would not be included. So to make sure that the public is aware of what is on there and what would
Sure.
not be on there at this point in time.
Right. So that's rolled out, and then we're hoping to continue to work with the clerk's office and some of the other offices, and hopefully by sometime in the early part of next year, we'll roll out some of the other online permitting options for different renewal permits that we're hoping to be able to have an online process availability for residents to utilize for that also. And then the last thing I just wanted to bring up, myself, the mayor, and Eric from Public Works met with the county engineer to discuss two different projects. First, we were out at Lafayette Street to look at the intersection at Jackson and at Colliers and just really evaluate and look at those things. So the county engineer submitted to us some of the revised traffic striping plan that he's going to draft up and have some changes, move around some of the stops and everything like that to help improve that intersection. But also, I think once they finalize some of the line striping there, I think it'll have some improvement, and we'll see and evaluate it as we move forward. The other things we looked at were adding crosswalks up on Madison Avenue at Kiwanis Park and on Madison.
Madison and Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
That goes into Columbia. It's
Right.
a little bit of a
So those things will, the county will be striping those and redoing that over the next 6 months. And that's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Solicitor, Chris?
Just briefly, this is something that Councilman Meyer has brought up before concerning potential improvements, modifications to the shade tree ordinance. And I had a chance to meet with Councilman Meyer and the chairman for the Shade Tree Commission. And I have a draft that I'm going to be working with Councilman Meyer and the Shade Tree Commission. So we may have something in the near future for all of council to consider. But we want to, I think, run that through the Shade Tree Commission first, address any initial comments from them, and then bring something for the five of you to consider.
That's great. Okay.
Thank you, Chris. You did a great job.
On to ordinances for second reading. And before we introduce this, because there's also a public hearing, I had a conversation with Mr. Dietrich. This is the one way on Roseman's Lane. Mr. Dietrich has reached out to the homeowners association within the neighborhood there and gotten their support for this. Also, the marina ownership, but is still looking to reach out to the Rosemans who own the smaller marina there. Given that this is kind of a smaller issue, but obviously a good one in our engineer's opinion, as well as police and fire, to make this a bit safer. But given the fact that he has not contacted them yet, I think it's important just to make sure that they do support the project, or at least may have some input, et cetera. So I would like to table this until that occurs, if that's okay with everyone up here.
Yeah.
And again, it sounds like the majority of the folks there really actually appreciate this, but given that there's no time constraints.
And we did send letters out to the residents on the street, so, I don't think we've really heard back from anybody else, but we just wanted to make, have a
No, due diligence makes.
due diligence and make personal contact with a couple of the key people on the street, just to make sure that we weren't going to
So-
upset the area.
So there's a public hearing on this, which I'd be happy to open it up. However, I will be making the motion to table this. But let's open it up for public comment.
Stacy Sheehan, 928 Columbia Avenue. My question is, if this one-way street is going to run south to east, so in other words, it's going to come out of the marina onto Lafayette Street. I think in the past, when it was a one-way street, it actually ran the other way. It ran from Lafayette Street into the marina one way. So I'm just putting that question out there on the reasoning why you're doing it from the marina out, because coming out of the marina, the person coming out is going to actually have to cross over 2 lanes of traffic because it's so narrow when you come out, you can't stay in your lane.
Okay.
Just so you get an answer, when we investigated and had the police chief make a recommendation, they felt this would be the safest way to go in and come out. The other way, if you got traffic and trying to stop them and make a quick right turn to that first drive area, they thought it would create some rear-end accidents. They thought it'd be safer this way. So, and then we had the engineer look at it, and he kind of concludes with the plan.
Well, I'm just saying over the number of years that it has been one way going from Lafayette Street into there, you could look at the traffic accidents. I don't know if there was that many traffic accidents.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
before
there
the
were-
development.
And there were no traffic accidents at either of the intersections. But when you look at the existing traffic pattern as it is today, which I think was different than it was previously, that how the traffic moves today, where most people will use, I'll say, the second Roseman's Lane, and once you're back in the facility, when you naturally go to leave, you more naturally are leaving that way as opposed to coming in that way. So it just flowed better when we discuss from Public Works and Public Safety, it just, that was the better operation of how the.
I understand how you're talking flow patterns, but I didn't know if you took into consideration that to come out of that driveway, you cannot stay within your lane to make the turn, right-hand turn. It requires you to cross over
I think the
that
problem
intersection.
is when you go in, if the alternative is you use that as the entry point to go in, it's already narrow to begin with and not as wide as the other main entrance now. And then so it's a choke point to get in, and then there's a choke point when you get past the first few houses there too. And that's why I think that just practically speaking, that bigger entrance.
Right, and it makes more reasonable sense to have 2 exits out of that community area as opposed to 2 entrances. So just from an overall public safety, and I understand that concern, but I think that concern takes a second seat
That's fine.
to the other issues.
Yeah, I was just, bringing to the point that in the past, it was
Yes.
the opposite way, and make people aware that it's actually coming out, because
Yep.
it's hard to comprehend when you just read the ordinance, which way south and east is and which way it's actually coming out.
Right.
Okay. So at this point, and if anyone does have any other comments, especially from council, I'd direct them to Paul Dietrich. And if you have any opinions that you'd like to see changed, that's one of the reasons we're tabling it. So, let me make the motion. I'll make a motion that we table this. And I'll say in perpetuity, just so that we have any time necessary, but most likely next meeting.
That is my only question, because I believe we would have to table the public hearing, and I'm not sure if we do it indefinitely, how we would go about maybe re-advertising.
would
Okay,
suggest-
I'll say next meeting.
Yeah, I would say just
I like to
keep-
set a date.
And that will keep it on track for purposes of.
So I'd like to make a motion to table this until our next meeting.
And that's October 17th.
Right.
I'll make the motion. Oh, sorry.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments on that motion?
I just want to make 2 quick comments.
Sure.
Because when this came up, when we introduced it, we also took off Columbia Avenue, and in the explanation of the ordinance does not mention that. So I'm wondering if that needs to be included.
That was just a cleanup.
It was just a cleanup thing,
I think
and
it
it
was
wasn't
the-
included. So as we're looking at it, I don't know if that's substantial, that we have to re-advertise, but there was.
We already advertised with
With the
that
change.
included, and that discussion will be reflected in the minutes, too, of the
Okay.
discussions regarding the ordinance.
And then the only other thing is, I think, I know when Stacy, you were up here talking, there's 2 Roseman's Lanes. I'm not quite sure how the roads are named in there. Maybe
It's like a half circle, but I
Yeah,
agree with
it's all Roseman's Lane.
goes all the way up and around.
Yes.
Now just take a look at that as well. I don't know if it's something.
It's a little confusing that there's
Confusing.
2 Roseman lanes off of Lafayette Street. I agree with you, because it is one road, because it's a half
up.
circle, basically.
Maybe one needs to be north and one needs to be south or east or
Some-
west. or
something.
Along those
Yeah,
lines.
for-
Just as a distinction, Paul.
Right.
For like 911 as well, if
I
you need
don't,
to
I mean,
get.
but they're all numbered in there, so I don't, especially with making this an exit, now that, if
It
if it was
becomes
to
a
have 2
moot
entries, like
point.
today, you could, I'm sure Emergency Services knows on what side to go in and go out, to closest to get to what number, but, I think from moving forward, I don't think that will be an issue, because you'll be going in one way and circulate through the facility.
Like St. James Place.
Yeah, that goes in and out, yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments, council? Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes?
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have the public portion on the resolutions, Mayor, if we'd like to open it up to the public at this time.
Anyone wishing to speak on resolutions this evening?
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. My first question has to do with Resolution 264. Will that audit after this meeting be made public
Yes.
on the city website?
Yes.
Okay. And then my next has to do with Resolution 269, the utility awarding the contract for the Trenton reconstruction for $2 million. In that, it doesn't say how much of Trenton Avenue this is for. Is this for the entire street of Trenton Avenue?
No, it's, if you want, I can read them. So it's for 4 different streets. It'll be for Trenton Avenue, it's from Beach to New York. Franklin Street, it's from Lafayette to Columbia. Congress Street is from Broadway to Park. And Washington,
Lafayette to Columbia for
On
Trenton
Frank-
Avenue?
Franklin
On
Street.
Franklin.
on Franklin
Franklin
Street.
from
Oh,
Lafayette.
okay, because it just says Trenton Avenue reconstruction is all it says in this resolution.
That's how the project, but it's actually for the 2023 paving program, of which
So
Trenton,
shouldn't it be in that resolution what it's actually for?
So this is actually going back a while. I think that's how this project originated, was it started out as a Trenton Avenue project, but then it became this bigger project, like, hey, let's do all these other roads. So that's
And-
kind of just like the origination of it,
yeah,
but
but-
it's grown from.
Right.
Okay, but I'm just saying that, don't you think that should be stated in the resolution?
it does.
What stores?
It says the 2023 Utility and Road Program, in parentheses, it's identifying that the Trenton Avenue has a municipal aid DOT grant program in it. So that's why it's, Trenton Avenue is brought out, because we have to identify to the DOT that we're awarding this as a DOT grant also. So,
Yeah, so DOT's grant is just from Beach to New York on Trenton Avenue.
yes. The rest of the streets are all city,
Okay, so
Funded
it's
streets.
Beach to New York, and then it was, once you were getting off of Trenton, I got confused on,
then it's Franklin Street from Lafayette to Columbia, Congress Street from Broadway to Park, and Washington Street from Ocean to Sydney
so how many blocks is that total?
for,
For $2 million. I'm just trying to figure out how much we're getting done for $2 million, that's all.
well, I mean,
lot.
Washington Street's not, that's the whole stretch of Washington.
So it's all of Washington, okay.
This came in 300,000
Less.
less than the estimate.
And it's just repaving, it's not doing any kind of infrastructure?
Washington, yes, I believe.
Well, Washington is resurfacing only. On Congress, Franklin, and Trenton, they all have infrastructure repairs, stormwater, water, and sewer as necessary.
Okay. My next question has to do with resolutions 272 and 273. It's my understanding that the ACE program that you're doing here tonight, enter into a cooperative pricing agreement, the ACE program. Now, is that just for the school? Because the school has already been in this ACE program.
Mayor, do you want me to?
Yeah.
So the ACES program, it's probably what the same thing to school, but we're doing it for the city facilities.
Okay, so it's not just for the school, it's going to be for the city?
This is for
the city?
City project.
Okay, so-
Specifically, we're looking at identifying upgrades at Convention Hall for the HVAC. We're also looking at future solar at the Public Works Yard. And even though Public Works already has solar, but there's other meters that we think we can expand the solar there. So we're looking at evaluating that, as well as potential lighting upgrades at all the other city buildings.
Okay, so that, I said my second question had to do with what projects that correlates to 273 with a consulting firm,
Those that I just told you.
just those HVAC.
HVAC at Convention Hall, solar at the Public Works, and then I'll say general LED lighting at all the other facilities.
Okay,
And
thank
it,
you.
and it may expand to other projects as we see, but those are at least the three that we've identified at this point.
Okay, and are we going to be, before we do any kind of solar project, we're looking to grants so that we can actually,
Well, that's part of why we hire this consultant to look at and evaluate all the different programs and see what's available to be what's most cost-effective for the city.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments on resolutions?
Jules Rouse, 1010 New York. Will there be an explanation of the audit recommendations or suggestions or comments that were made so that we can hear what has been said? Or is it, I hope that's done this evening, as it's been done in the past?
Wouldn't that be done after the audit was published?
Yeah, that's what we planned on.
Yeah.
CFO will be at the next meeting, and he will give an explanation. I will say, if there was anything pressing in there, he would be here this evening, but there was literally one comment, which is probably the least comments we've ever had.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, we can close public comment on resolutions.
Council, is there anything you'd like to remove from the consent agenda this evening?
Anything, council? No? Okay.
Can I just,
Go ahead.
a question? The ordinance on lighting, is that for the next meeting? Because we had to republicize. I just,
I believe it's the next meeting. I'd have to check
Okay.
my notes, but yeah, you reintroduced it at the last meeting,
Right.
so I think it's on the
Okay,
deck
all right,
for
that's-
next
that-
meeting. I'd have to double check though for you.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Motion to approve the consent agenda?
So I will go ahead and read them all, if that's okay.
Pardon
And then
me.
we can motion and second. If
Yep.
there's nothing to remove?
Do the normal? Yes, thank you.
Well,
No,
I think we
nothing
have
to
to. All right, so on the consent agenda this evening, we've got 263-10-2022, resolution regarding trick-or-treat night in the city of Cape May. 264-10-2023, resolution certifying the 2022 audit. 265-10-2023, resolution authorizing the hiring of a document digitization software firm for the construction office files through the competitive contracting process. 266-10-2023, resolution authorizing additional professional services to de Blasio and Associates for the 2023 Utility and Road Program, Trenton Avenue Construction Phase Services. 267-10-2023, resolution authorizing a contract for additional professional services to de Blasio and Associates for engineering work necessary for the Lafayette Street Emergency Sanitary Sewer and Water Main Replacement. 268-10-2023, resolution for the adjustment credit for 2022 sewer charges. 269-10-2023, resolution awarding a contract for 2023 Utility and Road Program, fiscal year 2023 NJDOT Municipal Aid Program, reconstruction of Trenton Avenue. 270-10-2023, resolution for the release of maintenance guarantee for GL Realty, Block 1092, Lot 5. 271-10-2023, resolution for the payment of bills. 272-10-2023, resolution authorizing the City of Cape May to enter into a cooperative pricing agreement for energy and energy-related services with the Alliance for Competitive Energy Energy Services is ACES, and authorizing a participation in the ACES Plus program for renewable energy consulting services. And 27310, 2023, resolution authorizing the award of cooperative contract to Gable Associates, Inc., consultant services through the ACES Plus program in the Alliance for Competitive Energy Services, NJSBA Cooperative. If we could now have a motion.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Yeager?
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer?
Yes.
Councilmember McDade?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Yes?
Mayor Mullick?
Yes.
Any old business, council?
Any old business, council?
Just a reminder that the town hall is scheduled for Thursday, November 2nd, starting at 4 o'clock, and still determining the best location, either City Hall here in Chambers, because we could live stream, or Convention Hall. So that is still under discussion. So any input, I think everybody, which would be the better option, so.
Okay.
We'll have a resolution on the next agenda.
Okay. Any other old business? Any new business, city solicitor?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
City manager?
No, sir.
City clerk?
Halloween parade is scheduled for Sunday, October 22nd, with a rain date of October 29th. It starts 1:30 p.m. for registration at Perry in Washington, 2:30 p.m. judging, 3 p.m. parade begins, and the trophy ceremony immediately follows at Cape May Mac. And that's it.
Great. Council members, Deputy Mayor Baldwin?
Just two kind of fun things. There's a fundraiser for the Cape May Chamber at Convention Hall. It's called The Last Waltz on November the 18th. It's a recreation of the band known as The Band from 1976. And then Jazz Festival is November the 10th through the 12th. From what I understand, the tickets are going fast, and that's a good time. So get your tickets. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Meyer?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, again, thank the solicitor for all the hard work he's doing with the Shade Tree Commission. And I want to thank the Shade Tree Commission for all the work they do, too. I want to thank the various conversations I've had with people in City Hall today, including the mayor. One of the things that came up to me, and I don't know, this is an open conversation I want to have with you as council members and as administration. I know how we're all very supportive of the veterans and the VFW and Cape May, and I appreciate that. One of the things that came to light is that I don't know if everybody realizes that when you have an American flag, there's an appropriate way to dispose of an American flag, and you take it to the VFW, and they have a ceremony where they burn the flags in a patriotic fashion. And a lot of people come to Cape May with their flags, on vacation. So that the VFW in Cape May has a lot of flags, and they would like to have a ceremony in Cape May because it is our town VFW. And I just wanted to open up the conversation, maybe even bring in the fire chief. Where would be a good location for this if we would to allow this to happen? I mean, I don't know if we could even be allowed to do it on the beach. I meant to bring this up to you earlier, Paul, but November 11th is coming up soon, so I think we have a little bit of time. I just want to plant that seed in everybody's head that I think it's something that we should do and support, and I think it'd be a nice thing we could probably do annually. They have a boatload of flags, and the only other place I think in the county is in the courthouse, and that's limited. So
Yeah, that's great, Mr. Meyer.
share your ideas. Let me know what you think.
Perfect. Okay. Councilmember McDade?
Just a brief, I should have said this is old business. We've been continuing to meet with the city solicitor, Kevin Haney, our CFO, on the shared services agreements. So there's work underway on several of the contracts that are one for coming up next year and a few others that are coming up in 2025. So I just want to give credit to Marty Van Welswam and Steve Bodner, who have really undertaken this effort and put a lot of hard work and energy into it, and have really asked a lot of questions that I don't think anyone would have had the time or energy to do, and done a lot of investigation, but I feel that it's been highly productive, and have had a conversation with the city solicitor, and I think he agrees that some of this information probably would not have been known if these gentlemen had not gotten involved and really sort of asked to take a look at the contracts and look at a lot of the data and do really in-depth analysis and sort of probing questions. So just want to give a shout out and credit to them. There will be an update, I believe, at the next MTRAC committee meeting, which is next Thursday, just on sort of where our work group is to date. So
That's great. Councilmember Yeager?
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Just quickly, actually, Maureen, I'd like to ask MTRAC and yourself to look at the beach tags as well. Dennis Crawley did send me, and I think some recommendations were actually already made, and we have those.
We did discuss it at the last meeting, so, but I think that it needs to sort of be dusted off a little bit. I think there were some generalities, but getting the...
We have to look at beach tag rates for next season. Obviously, some of those numbers are going to have to come up pretty quickly when it comes to the December beach tag sales. Now, that's already at a discounted rate. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor, we talked about that this morning.
Okay.
And I met with Kevin I gave him proposed new numbers for seasonal tags, all the different tags, to be parity with these other communities. So he will have a report for you at the next meeting, what is recommended and the increase that it would develop, because we are paying the taggers a little more money. The minimum wage goes up next year. The end of the year, I gave a little bonus for staying. So we have to cover those costs, so I think you'll have some good recommendations next meeting.
And
Mr. Mayor, would you...
Go ahead, please.
Should perhaps maybe Kevin could just share that with MTRAC before
Absolutely,
it comes
yeah.
to council, just because it is something
They
that
meet
they've
on
talked
Thursday?
about. Yeah, next Thursday. So I'll...
We'll do
reach out.
that.
Yeah, we'll
That'd be
do that,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it would be good for them.
Yeah,
just to
and I want to thank Shane for what you do with working with the veterans. I really do. And just Mike Yeager, about next year you get to build a police station. I think once we get these few more documents in place. So things will look good. And then thinking about people coming and going, once we get Lafayette Street done, coming into the town, the main thoroughfare, and going down, leaving Washington, they're going to have two nice roads. Except we make it too smooth, we got to worry about that speeding on Washington and Lafayette. But it's going to be all good. So the council's getting a lot of good things done. We appreciate it.
And one of the other reasons too, obviously, is we did approve the lifeguards contract, which I think carries us through 2025, I believe. But there were some, and they were definitely deserved, but increases over those years. But obviously now that allows us to budget for those within the new, of course, it's the beach utility for the beach tag. The beach tag funds the beach utility. With the increases to salaries, it's showing us, hey, it's time to bump up the beach tag to meet the needs of the beach utility. So anyway, we look forward to that conversation at the next council meeting. One other thing the city manager and I just discussed briefly today is Washington Street for Halloween, looking at actually closing to through traffic just a couple hours from 5 to 8, a couple blocks on Washington Street, just for the trick-or-treaters. So we talked to Chief Fashaw, and he's very much supportive of this. But all the homeowners and business owners on Washington Street will have full access to leave and go, but any through traffic will just be directed to Lafayette Street while kids are trick-or-treating, which seemed to make a lot of sense, I thought. But that'll be on for the next meeting, exactly what that is. I did meet with HPC members this morning, did have a discussion on the old water works, our current desalinization plant building. I made it clear to them that all of council wants to see that building maintained and not be removed as part of the project. And I said council would do everything it possibly could to make sure that that building stays exactly where it is. What we would like to see from the engineers moving forward is any design to incorporate that building as offices or even if it has tractors in it, whatever to maintain that building could then be taken out of any of the design for the new desalinization building. So look forward, council, to a report on at least the site plan of the location to show that that building is incorporated into the plan to be maintained. And there's many reasons, but one of which is just expense. If we were to try to rebuild that building today, it'd probably cost us $500,000 minimum. So have any office space and things like that inside the old building, and maybe that way we have less of a big building for our new building, for office space, et cetera, et cetera. So in any event, look forward to a site plan presentation. Very far from any engineering of the entire plan, but at least a site plan to kind of show exactly where everything stands. And I think that's all I have. Other than, yeah, please.
May I ask a couple questions? You said some really positive things just now. I think that they should have shut down Washington Street back when we were kids here.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I just have one question, and I don't mean to open up a can of worms or whatever, but when it comes to expanding the lifeguard headquarters, is this something that we plan as a council to strictly use the money in the beach utility for? Is this something that we should plan when it comes to these beach tags?
So,
I think it's a legitimate thought.
Oh,
I'm not asking for you to answer that question on the spot. I'm just saying.
No, I think the answer is yes. It'll be done through the beach utility, 100%. Just to give everybody, one of the reasons you haven't necessarily gotten an update on beach headquarters is the first step is getting DEP approval. They may say no, and we're kind of starting back at square one. We don't expect that. But hopefully the DEP gives us a positive answer on that. And we did get a couple people who were concerned, but very quickly understood what we were attempting to do. And I'll just explain that in layman's terms, because that's the only way I could explain it. But the problem, of course, is, and it's a good problem, we have more female guards than ever. When the building was designed, it had a larger male locker room and bathroom facilities for the obvious reason that there were more males than females. Now, I don't believe it's exactly 50-50, but it's pretty close. And it's something like that. So it's clear that there needs to be upgrades made to the facilities. And also, we are already putting forth a DEP application. So we added to that DEP application, increasing the depth of the building. So not the height, not the width, and I'm saying that for anybody who's concerned about their views, which we understand, but would increase the depth of the building to allow for an increase in the facility space. That is a very long way away from anything happening. Just the first step is DEP approving that. Once that occurs, we would have a full public presentation and discussion on the expansion of the beach patrol. So anyway, that would probably be at least a year away today, and then would take a lot of planning and time. So construction would not start for at least 2 years, to be honest.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, with that, we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, state your name and address.
Jules Rouse, 1010 New York Avenue. I was a bit surprised what I read in the paper when as a result of my coming before council to give you a presentation on the 3-day music event that was held at Convention Hall. Just as an aside, this evening you paid a $3,000 additional advertising bill for that project, so you're well up into the $55,000 loss range. But what disturbed me, I guess, most was I had absolutely no concept that the city has been willing to just accept year after year after year of continuing losses on that particular event or events. And Mr. Mayor, you commented that the the 50, at that point, 52,000 was not the largest amount that's been lost, that a number of them have exceeded that. Has council ever recognized that you're looking at, $300,000 a year loss?
So,
When
I'll answer that. I don't mean to interrupt.
I had no idea that we're talking that kind of money in a given year. If you have 5 or 6 events and each of those lose that kind of money.
It doesn't. It does. So, first off, our events director is going to be here at the next meeting, give her own report. But let me just say, number one, and I hope Star and Wave picks this up for the front page as they did with the last one. It is on budget for the year. It's on budget and it's in the black. A couple years ago, frankly, when this council started, it was in the red and had been in the red. So that's turned around. Now, there's ups and downs of each concert that they have, and this is one of the more significant losses, but that's because of the actions of this council. And I'm not trying to brag, but we haven't really discussed this publicly until now as it's been being brought up. But I have to say the deputy mayor and several other council members were involved with negotiating the new contracts with the promoters. And those basically said to the promoters, here's your hall. You lease the hall from us. So any of the liability in regards to finances were put on the promoter. And we also thought that that was a good way to motivate the promoters to get the best acts possible because, hey, you can make as much money as you want. Get better acts and more people will show up. And in doing that, we have had far less losses. Now, no one's going to come up here and brag that we have far less losses. We want to see revenue. But I have to tell you, it has really turned around where it was previously, where we would have concerts that had $80,000 losses. And there was a reason that the
Were they $80,000 of city taxpayer losses?
tourism utility, but so tourism utility, but that was in the red. So now it's in the black, and I hope that gets reported because you can report on specific mistakes, if you want to call it, or problems that occur, things that aren't as successful as you'd like them to be. But the fact is, overall, the staff at Convention Hall has done a very good job of turning around, along with support from council, to make sure that the tourism utility is solvent, which it is.
So what was in the paper and what you had said at the council meeting, that there had been, and I don't think it's necessary that I quote you, that there had been excessive losses in addition or higher than the loss that was at this event this year. So that really isn't the case. You've not had significant losses.
I'm unfamiliar with any other losses higher than that, no. And I don't think it's possible because of the contracts that we've had. Put the responsibility on the promoter.
The nature of what the mayor's referencing, and I think was referencing in that article, was the way things were prior, which is the contracts that the city had the city shelling out over $100,000 up front on and prepaying for a lot of these things. And the shift around 2021 was to go to this leasing the hall scenario, which has money coming into the city and liability and risk shifted to the promoter.
I'm very familiar with when they started out 2012 and 13, when Stockton was involved, and then the following 3 years, 2014, 15, and 16, when the city ran those events, and they did the ticket sales, they did the entire thing, and at the reorganization meeting in January of 2017, at that time there was over $300,000 of surplus in in the summer series program.
Right.
So what was said in the paper that these have always been losses, that's not true. The first 5 years, they were positive. And my wife and I went to every one of them. We bought the entire package
If I said
for 5 years.
If I said that it was always losses, that was a mistake because it hasn't always been losses, and I agree with you 100%. I don't think I did, to be honest with you. I know it had been losses for a few years, and it was clear that it needed to be significantly changed.
I don't disagree with that,
Right.
Mr. Mayor. But
Now we have a Sullivan utility, and then I think the question is from there, and this was the start. I think the first thing we had to do was stop the bleeding. Okay, stop the bleeding, get your costs down. And in doing that, I don't think that the quality of the acts have gone down. I think they've actually gone up. But now I think what you mentioned is kind of a jumping board. We have our base now. Now how can we bring in more revenue? How can we bring in better acts? And I think it's how can we get back to the point where we have a $300,000 surplus? Those are good questions that we should be
well, one of the things and I got a couple of calls from people back when the program started in 2012 going forward. There were a lot of businesses in Cape May that paid to have their name put in a brochure that was given out at each event. There were individual businesses that sponsored a specific event, and they spent money, and that came in as revenue to the city to help defray the cost of the program. So it's an issue that I'm glad, very very glad to see that you will straighten it out, and if the director of public tourist utility will give a report, that would be excellent.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And Mr. Roush, I agree with all of your concerns. I think we all do. We want to see the tourism utility not just be flat. We want to see it flourish. But it is difficult. We've talked a lot about how do you get the next big act into town, and how do you do this without a promoter? The industry has changed. That's one thing I have to say is like, you can't call a band anymore as, hey, I'm the city hall director, could you come play? They just don't do it, and it's unfortunate. So most of these bands have to work with a promoter. I mean, you're probably familiar with Live Nation. Like, so many of these small promoters and things like that have all been gobbled up. But look, other towns like Ocean City, New Jersey have a pretty darn good lineup that I think we should try to emulate a little bit. But the main thing that I think should be said is we are not losing any tax dollars on the tourism utility. It is Sullivan.
Just thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to remind everybody why we have a tourism utility. The tourism utility is to create a draw for people to come into Cape May and for them to spend their money, stay overnight, have dinner and things like that. Right. And to me, you will run at a loss. Mm-hmm. But thinking in my mind, I think I would prefer, if we were going to lose money on something, make it free for the public. Invite vendors that offset the cost. And I think those type of things speak more of the reason why we have a tourism utility. It should be, and we do offer a lot of things, but we don't really offer too many. I don't know.
Well, Rotary Park.
We do. Yeah.
If Rotary Park has zero revenue, and
Right.
only costs money, and I have to say the acts, if anyone has gotten a chance to go, which is almost every night. What nights are they off? I forget. Maybe Sunday night. But I think it's almost every night throughout the whole summer. There's bands at Rotary Park, and I think I went to a few of them this summer with my wife, and they were excellent. I mean, just like really high quality.
And they have been that way since they started. They're a great civic function that
Right.
that the tourists and the residents enjoy.
Right.
But to carry Mr. Myers' comments, you know, at the rate that for this last event, that turned out to be a loss of $150 per ticket that was sold. Now, for $150, you could invite a lot of people to town and do a lot of promotion that the merchants would be able to say, hey, you know, I hope you do it again because I made money tonight. And that $150 a head that the city spent or lost was picked up by the hotels and the restaurants and the commercial businesses. I'm happy to see and hear that you are not going to be losing that $300,000 or whatever it is going forward, because that would not be what I think is a responsible care of taxpayer money.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Roush.
Hi, Roz Johnson, 826 Lafayette Street. I'd like to acknowledge a positive transaction that I had between myself and the mayor. In an email to the council, I had a question that required some research about some work that was being done on Lafayette Street with the sewer replacement. Zach researched my request and got back to me promptly, and I very much appreciate that.
Thank you, Roz.
It's-
Hopefully I'm right, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is why we let him answer.
Oh, good.
Right. It's important to acknowledge positives, and I believe
Thank
in
you.
that. So thank you for this communication. And speaking of opportunities to communicate, I also want to thank council for scheduling the town hall meeting on November 2nd at 4 o'clock. I am requesting that a format and agenda possibly being decided upon by the next city council meeting, which is the 17th, because that is only 2 weeks prior to the scheduled town meeting. My request is so optimum communication can be had between council and residents. So this has been a great city council meeting, so thank you.
Thank you, Roz. Any other comments?
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. At the last council meeting, council passed a resolution for the bench program. So my question is, what is going on with that resolution? Is it going to be rescinded?
I think probably by the next meeting, we'll have it on to be rescinded.
And the reason for it to be rescinded?
Public comment?
Well, why I'm asking this is that at that last meeting when we had the bench program, it was made public that the meeting was going to be discussing the bench program. Not many people came out in objection to it. But there was a lot of objections online from out-of-town people that said they didn't like it. But when we had the Arch comment section, there's a lot of people in the audience that came out in objection to the arches being expanded. But yet, that didn't get tabled and that didn't get stopped. So I just want to know why out-of-towners can make public comment online and they get a response, whereas people that are taxpayers make comments and it goes unconsidered their objections to the process.
I do not agree with that at all. We received emails and phone calls, and the council was responsive to those emails and phone calls. I think council was given a very thorough and understandable presentation to discuss it. We thought it was a smart thing to do. We heard from the citizens, they didn't like it, and we said, fine.
I just wish you'd be more responsive to people objecting to the arches. Thank you.
Mary Notch, 1115 Washington Street. Just a short comment about the town hall meeting on the 2nd of November. Can we make sure that we have the public comments, that they are the residents of the city of Cape May or second homeowners, and not listening to people from West Cape May Point, who really don't have to, it's not their tax money that's being spent. That's what happened with the library. And I think a lot of people out of the city of Cape May had a lot to say and was not controlled by the city's.
Well, I think
residents.
there's a clear answer to that. I mean, and that is anyone's allowed to come and make a comment by law, right?
Right.
So anyone can, but anyone who comes to a microphone has to state their name and address. So take it for what you will when you hear that person's name and address.
Okay. And I would like you to hold them into the 5 minutes and not go on and on. especially
Understood.
when they weren't residents, and then we end up with.
We agree with that.
The monies.
Discuss, Mrs. Notchell, to be able to sort of have a
Right.
process that allows for one individual to ask a question and allow freedom for everyone to have. the
Okay.
opportunity. So,
And thank you for all the work you did on the bench program.
Thank you.
Stacy Shan, 928 Columbia Avenue. At the last couple town halls, and it wasn't this administration, public comment was cut off before everybody had a chance to express. Matter of fact, they only gave a short time for public comment. I just want to make sure that, it doesn't happen again, that everybody has an opportunity to express it, and it's not given the last half hour, 15 minutes, and then, okay, I'm sorry, everybody has to leave without everybody being able to express their opinion.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Because we're not going to leave until we hear from you. No, in all seriousness, any other public comment? Okay, thank you very much. Motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
So moved. Go Phillies. The time is now 6:13.
6:13.